Next up in this series is what to do when you get to the end of a row. So we've started with a slip stitch, we've done one row of chains, we've then done one row of single crochets and one row of double crochets. I've obviously connected these. I'm going to show you how to do that now, but they're all the stitches we've learnt so far. So you've done a row. It can be a row of double or single crochets or chains, anything, it doesn't matter. We've got all our stitches here. You can count them, you can see hopefully the stitches now, you can see where the round stitch of each one is there. So we've got to the end of our row. What we're going to do, we've got one loop on our hook, is as we did when we made a chain, we're going to chain one. We're going to pull our working yarn through the loop. That's one chain. So if you're going to do your next row as single crochets, you chain one. If your next row is going to be double crochets, you chain two. So you simply get your yarn and pull through another loop. That's two chains. That's a double crochet. So just for the purpose of this, I'm just going to pull those two out. So we finished our row of double crochets. We've got one loop on our hook. Say the next row I'm going to do, just for the purpose of this, is single crochets. So I've got one loop on my hook. I'm going to grab the yarn, pull it through, so I now have one chain on my work. So I've got one chain there. What we're then going to do, unless you're very talented and can crochet with both hands, which I cannot, is we're going to turn our work over. So keep a hold of your crochet hook with your loop on. We're simply going to flip it over. So what we're going to do is go back along it this way. Otherwise you'd have to swap hands and somehow crochet along it the wrong way. So we flipped it over. We'll simply get our working yarn, grab our yarn again, however you want to hold it. We've still got the one chain that we've made and the one loop on our hook. So all we do is we basically ignore the chain that we've just made. So we've just made that little chain. We're going to ignore that chain, but we're going to go into the first stitch on this row. You don't want to miss the first stitch after your chains because you're going to then start decreasing every time. You've got 20 stitches, we need to use every single stitch, otherwise we're going to start getting bigger and smaller throughout our work. So we've got our chain, we're ignoring the chain, but what we're going to do is go into that first loop. So we're going into the first loop, pull your yarn through that loop, so we've got our two loops again, and then pull your yarn through both of those loops. That's one single crochet. And then all you do is you just carry on with your single crochets again. You've got one loop, you find your next stitch, which is this hole, that hole there. We go into your stitch, pull your yarn through, and pull your yarn through again. So I'll show you from the top because some people find it easier to see it from the top. But we're into this stitch, we've just done this stitch. So we've got one loop on our hook. We're going to go into the next stitch, which is this stitch here, that round stitch there. So what we do is we go into that stitch, we pull one through, we've now got two loops on our hook, we pull through both of those. So however you see it, whether you see that stitch there, there's a hole there where the stitch is, or if you need to go on top, see the round stitch and go into the stitch that way, or into the stitch from the side. And that's it, you just keep going along there. We've got to the end of that row. I've just done single crochets all the way along that row. I have one left to do, but the last stitch on a row can often be quite hard to find, so I thought I'll just try and show you that. So you can see where I've gone into one stitch there. I'm going to take my hook out so I can show you. You can see hopefully where I've gone into one stitch there, one stitch there, one stitch there. The next stitch is here. This was the hole I've just been into. It's the next hole along, but because you've done your chain and stuff, it can look a little bit different. So this is our hole. again from the top you can see the round stitch there. You just go into those 2 loops. So it's the same as all the other stitches, it just can often look a little bit different and be a little bit hard to find. So we've done our single crochets, we go into that loop, pull 1 through, pull through 2 loops. That's our final single crochet for this row. So for this row, that's it. I've done my next 20 crochets, single crochets, and I've done that row. So I've finished my row on a single crochet. What I'm going to do is pull my yarn through, that's a chain. So I'll do that again. I've finished my single crochet, pull my yarn through to chain 1. I'm going to turn my work over again and then go into the first stitch. So avoiding, not into the chain, that's the chain we've just made, into the first stitch here. And from the top, avoiding that chain, that first loop is our chain, we're going to go into the first stitch. We're going to pull our yarn through the stitch, got 2 loops, pull through 2, and you just carry along like that into the next loop, pull through your loop, pull through your 2 loops, and you just carry on. And that's how you turn your work.